Joining us now from Washington as well is Republican Congressman from Florida, Cliff Stearns. Congressman Stearns, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, I'm glad to be here, Rachel.
We just heard the president's speech. We just heard a response from the chairman of the Senate Banking Committee, from Senator Dodd. You have voiced opposition to this bailout. In fact, you've been quoted in one of your home state newspapers calling the plan, quote, an assault on capitalism. Did the president do anything tonight to convince you to sign on to this proposal?
Well, I think the president did a very good job, and I applaud him for speaking to the American people. I just wish he would have spoken to the American people before the three-page plan that Secretary Paulson brought before members of Congress and the House. That plan has obviously changed, and it's accommodation to Senator Dodd that he has changed that plan. Senator Paulson asked us to approve that three-page plan. It was actually 2.5 pages in 24 hours. It was giving him complete authority to spend $700 billion. And this is after we have already spent $315 billion for Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, AIG, and Bear Stearns. And they said there'd be no more problems. And yet bailout after bailout is not a strategy and ultimately is not sustainable for financial cures here in America. And so I think we have to be careful of taking Secretary Paulson's plan in complete literally as he suggested. So I'm very glad the president has changed the plan with his presentation tonight, because he's talking about accountability, he's talking about changing the regulations, also making sure that the CEOs do not benefit once Secretary Paulson comes in and takes all these bad debts out. So I think there is a mood sense here in Congress that perhaps Paulson's bill will be changed, and we'll have the opportunity, Rachel, as members of Congress in the Senate and the House to deliberate on this as a constitutional responsibility for the elected people that we represent. And so I think we're moving in a bipartisan fashion to try and calm the markets. And I think if the Secretary Paulson would be patient, and also that Speaker Pelosi and the Majority Leader Reid would keep Congress in session and deliberate and have the hearings and flush this whole bill out, I think we'll be better off than just bailout after bailout strategy.
Are you opposed to bailouts in general? If those sorts of caveats and strings that you're describing, the sorts of conditions and explanations were involved in this bailout, could you imagine it getting to a place where you would support it, or are you going to be against it to the end, sort of no matter what's in the bill?
No, I'm not going to be against it towards the end. But, Rachel, I was involved with the S&L crisis. We set up the Resolution Trust Corporation, and that corporation was separate from the administration, separate from Congress, and it deliberated in a fashion to look at all the bad loans in the S&Ls in such a way that it was fair and unpolitical. Now, the administration is taking this whole thing on themselves with Secretary Paulson. I would like to see something like the Resolution Trust Corporation that was set up for the S&L, so it's outside the administration, outside of Congress, and it's deliberated by people that are extremely knowledgeable. Now, I have to remember, Secretary Paulson came from Goldman Sachs, and that's a corporation of about $80 billion in revenues. And he's taking on a corporation of 10 times that size with complete carte blanche authority. And I don't think the American taxpayers are willing to give one man the responsibility to hire and fire without any kind of supervision. So I'm glad to hear the president's talking about some accountability, but I would like to see something like a Resolution Trust Corporation that works so successfully for the S&L crisis, instead of just one man being responsible for this whole thing.
Congressman Cliff Stearns of Florida, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you taking the time.
All right, thank you, Rachel.